Connected all three. We're good to go. Live. 1, 2, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the We Play Baseball Podcast. I am your host, Rod White. Working the ones and twos again. Feel like I'm a DJ disc jockey with this thing right now, guys. We'll give it a few minutes, a few seconds rather, and we'll let some people come on, let them enjoy this fine beat I have selected for tonight. Every day we out here hustling, putting in work. That's what we're telling players. That's what you got to be doing. Putting in the work. Just enjoy that for a few seconds. Well, it's about time that we get this show kicked off here real well. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing tonight? Let me swap over here, get my systems up and running, and everybody can see who we are. What's up, fellas? How you guys doing? Welcome to the show.
Good.
Andrew Toussaint and Orv Franchuk. Ladies and gentlemen, give them a big round of applause. See, I told you I'd be trying to work this thing back here, man. I'm finna order the whole soundboard deal. I talked to my wife about it. She's like, yeah, you may need it. You can do a little bit more. So we're going to see how that works out. Andrew is our guest tonight, by the way. He's going to be talking the scouting world. And so we're going to get into that just for a moment, but we're going to allow our guys. Matter of fact, let me go back and make sure you have this information first. Here's the info window. If you have questions, you can text 334-249-2290. Again, that number is 334-249-2290. And you can catch us at WePlayBaseball on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Our YouTube channel, which I don't have up there, is on the National Scouting Bureau. You can actually watch this live on the National Scouting Bureau, and it'll actually, when you pull up that channel, it'll pull up right to the show being live. So you can actually get it that way. I keep forgetting to mention that, but we are live on YouTube. Again, that number again is 334-249-2290, or you can tweet us at WePlayBaseball. Now let's get back to the introduction, and I'll tell you about this podcast. This podcast, the We Play Baseball Podcast, is designed specifically to provide parents, players, coaches, and those fans that just want to know what's going on in baseball. It's designed to provide information and keep you up to par and up to task with the most relevant and qualified information from the industry, some of the industry's experts. So that's kind of what we do tonight. Matter of fact, I'm going to let Orv start off tonight. Introduce yourself, Orv, and then Andrew, we'll get into you. We'll talk about some of the things, how our day went, and then we'll get it right into the meat of the matter, the scouting world. Orv?
Okay. The 28 years of pro experience in all parts of the game, and I'm actually excited to listen to Andrew talk about the scouting part. Always trying to learn more about the game, even though I'm getting a little older in my ears. I'm still trying to learn, so I'm looking forward to hearing what Andrew has to say.
And Andrew, matter of fact, let me go first, because when we get to you today, we're actually going to go right into your segment of this and kind of get into things. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rod White. I am the associate head coach at Texas College. I have spent several years, obviously spent a lot of years in this game. I think my gray hair starting to show up too. But I was an assistant coach at Alabama State. I've been an associate in scouting world under the Red Sox and the Phillies. Prior to that, I was in independent ball as a player, as a coach, and then as a general manager, assistant GM, then general manager. So I guess I've been around the world and done it all. So again, this show again is designed to provide you guys with information in the game of baseball, from the collegiate level up to the major leagues, and from and into the minor leagues. So, what we try to do is make sure we have a well-rounded cast of individuals who come on, from college coaches to pro scouts to, like we have Andrew tonight, and then you have individuals such as pro players, guys that were recently drafted we'll be bringing on. We'll bring on the families to talk about what that was like, that experience is like for everybody. So that's kind of what we do with this program. And so we're trying to kick it off and make sure we are providing you all with pertinent information that you can use. So now I'll get into Andrew. You are our guest tonight, even though you are typically one of our panel. But tonight we wanted to bring you in and let you talk the scouting world from your perspective, and just kind of tell everybody who you are, and then we'll get into the meat of the matter.
All right. I'm the West Coast supervisor for the New York Mets. Before that, I've been scouting. I was an area scout, scouting with the Mets for 8 years. Played baseball professionally in the Angels organization. Played 2 years in Japan. Then before that, or during that time, I was at the Youth Academy in Compton, instructing kids. Also went to college at Southern University, where I was drafted. Went to college at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Grew up in Compton, California, playing Little League and Pony and all that stuff. That's me right there.
That's you right there. So tonight, like I said before, we want to get into the scouting world. We want to kind of make parents and players and those alike get an understanding, or get a better understanding of what it's like. When we tell kids that, like I said, this song every day, that was the intro song, "Every Day We're Hustling," right? The intro beat for it. Let's start from this angle. Talk about your role as the West Coast supervisor first, and let's let everybody get an understanding of what it is that you do.
Okay, so a West Coast cross-checker basically is just the step up above an area scout. Cross-checkers usually manage about 4 or 5 area scouts, and your job as a cross-checker is to basically go and see some of the better players in your region and line those players up, compare them to how you think that that they fit on your list, whether it's hitters or pitchers, and just kind of making sure your region is taken care of as far as lining the players up and where they fit in the draft.
Okay, so approximately in a scouting department, let's say for you, how many guys would you have under you, and that kind of gives them give parents a perspective of these are the number of guys that are really out. How many guys does a typical
so most scouting departments probably consist of about 25, total 25, 30 people that's on the ground. That's including the scouting director, national cross-checkers, regional cross-checkers, area scouts. So for me, I manage 5 guys that we, collaborate and go over the West Coast with those 5 guys.
Those 5 guys.
Plus, I think 1 or 2 part-time guys also. So about 7 guys.
About 7 guys. Gotcha. So talk about the makeup typically of the scouting department and it doesn't necessarily have to be the Mets, but in general, what's that makeup really look like?
I mean, most scouting departments consist of obviously the scouting director. Well, actually, above that is usually probably the vice president of scouting. So they might have a guy that's the VP of scouting, that reports, probably directly to the GM, directly to the president of baseball operations. Under the VP of scouting, it's usually a scouting director. Under him, it's a couple. It might be assistant scouting director. Probably most organizations have assistant scouting directors now.
Right.
Under him, it's usually a number of national cross-checkers. Some teams break it up in halves, so they might have 2 national cross-checkers, break up the country in 2. Some teams break it up in 3. Some teams break it up the nationals in 4. So it all depends on each organization, how they do it. And then you have regional cross-checkers. Just like I said, it just all depends on the organization. Some people, normally it's broken up between 4 regional cross-checkers. Usually the country is broken up in 4s. Mm-hmm. And that's usually the West, the East, sometimes the West, the Northeast, the Southeast, and usually somewhere like the Midwest. So that's usually the 4. But some teams do 3 regional. It all depends. Some teams do 5. Mm-hmm. It all depends how they want to break it up. You break it up the country into thirds. You might break it up into quarters, or you break it up into 20s. So just all depends on that organization. And then usually under that, it's a number of area scouts. Just all depends on the organizational philosophy. That could consist of 10 area scouts to all the way to some teams that might have 22 to 25 area scouts. Just all depends on how you want to break it up. But for the most part, scouting department consists of anywhere between 25 to 35 guys. Most teams.
25 to 35 guys. Now let me ask this question, and I guess this is something that I just thought about. Typically, how much territory does one area guy cover?
Well, it all depends on the historics of the area. Some teams are really getting smart now, and they're breaking the areas up by percentages of the draft. Just how much the amount of players that you usually drafted per year out of that area. So typically, it's just different. Like for the West Coast, where I had Southern California, it's most teams have 2 or 3 guys just in Southern California because just a big
magnitude,
part of the draft,
Yeah.
But then you'll have other guys at other organizations. They'll, some guys in the Northwest or the Midwest somewhere, they might have 4 or 5 states. So
right.
You might have one guy that has 4 or 5, maybe 6 states he has to cover, compared to a guy like that's in Southern California that might only have a territory of about 3-hour driving distance, compared to other guys who might have a 20-hour driving distance.
Yeah.
So it just all depends on the organization, how they want to break it up.
Gotcha. Let me swap this screen and show it again. Again, if you have questions that you want to ask, the number is 334-249-2290. Again, that number is 334-249-2290, or you can tweet us at WePlayBaseball. You can tweet us on Facebook, send us a message. I actually have the Facebook message up where you can actually see it on the live, as well as on Instagram. So let's move into the kind of, I guess this area would be considered what you look for. So we'll start this way. Let's discuss the 5 tools. And if people don't understand it, it's hidden for power, hidden for average, running abilities, throwing, and we'll break arm down, throwing down just here into arm strength, arm accuracy, and velocity, because people don't really calculate all that into it, but that is counted. Can he field? Which also breaks down into, does he have his hands, soft hands, footwork, things of this nature. And then add into it, and we can come back to this, but we're talking about the 20/80 scale, what that really means, and where people give them understanding of what that really means.
Right. So, it's pretty simple. The 5 tools, like you said, hitting, power, arm strength, fielding, and speed. Those make up the 5 tools, basically. The 20-80 scale is basically the 20 being the lowest grade you can get. You get on the scouting grading scale, and an 80 is the highest you get. A 50 is average, an average grade. So you hear somebody say he's got average arm strength on a number to that is 50. You hear people talking about plus, that's a 60 grade. Below average is a 40. That's the verbiage of it. Poor is usually a 30 or 20, depending on, how you use that word.
Right.
And then a lot of people, a 70 would be, you could say double plus or outstanding, however you want to use it, whatever words you want to use to describe that.
Right. So here's a question. Here's a question in that. Well, let's talk about like the arm strength, the arm throwing. Okay, can you throw the ball? All right. We break it down and we look at arm strength, we look at arm accuracy, and we look at arm velocity. Let's look at the velocity side, because this is a big thing right now. Getting your velocity up, and we hear a lot about this. Okay, on that 20-80 scale, let's rank out some numbers. Okay, average major league arm for the audience, I know, but for the audience is what?
Based on velocity.
Based on velocity, right?
For a pitcher, right?
No, well, just average player, regular fielding position player.
Well, I mean, that's a tough one too, because it just depends on the scale that people want to use. Right. So, for a long time, an average arm was considered 90 miles per hour.
Okay.
If you can throw 90, then you had an average major league arm. But now that scale's kind of going up, especially when you talk about pitchers. Like in the big leagues now, the average fastball is 90 for starters is 92, I think, or 93. So that's average now in the big leagues for a pitcher. But I mean, usually you say when we're talking about fielders, if a kid can throw the ball across the diamond at 90, that's pretty good. That's at least major league average. Might be a little bit better, especially for a high school kid.
Right. He
can get it across at 90. That usually say he can make all the plays. I usually don't look at we can get into that subject too about showcases and how they bring out the radar gun to time these kids, get the velocity of these kids across the diamond or from the outfield. That's here or there. A kid catching the ball, then winding up to throw it.
Yeah.
I look at the carry of the ball.
Right.
That's how I grade my arms. Just look at the carry of the ball, especially from the shortstop. Can he make the play in the hole on the backhand? How is that coming across the diamond? Is it on the line? Does it have a little hump to it? His how tough of a play it is for him. Does he have effort in that throw? Or is it easy?
Or is it easy? Right.
So that's basically for me. But I would say, if somebody's looking for a number 90, that's usually go off that.
Yeah. If you, I guess, how can I say this? If you, I know we talked about you're looking at trajectory of the ball, how it comes out of the hand. Talk about being easy versus he's having to put effort. So effort versus easy in that. Tell people what that really means.
Well, for me, easy arm is just, it's a good clean arm stroke where it's loose, it's loose and fluid, no restrictions to the arm path, and the ball is just coming out easy on the line with usually clean backspin throw to it. Effort. A lot of guys have effort when they're pulling their head away from their arm. Got a lot of what we call head whack.
Right.
He has some head whacks, and a lot of times that's how most kids have effort in their throw. It's a lot of head movement to get it, and that's usually the telltale sign for me for effort. How much is he moving his head to get the ball, across the diamond, or to get the ball, from the outfield, to a base? How much head effort does he have in his throws?
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, again, our guest tonight is our panel. He's our guest, but he's normally on our panel day in and day out. Andrew Toussaint, West Coast supervisor for the Mets. So I'm just making sure everybody stays up to date because I see more people still jumping in and watching it via Facebook and some of the other outlets here. So again, Andrew Toussaint, West Coast supervisor. In the background right here is Orfran Chuck. He'll be asking his questions here shortly. I'm just trying to get as many as mine out real quick as everybody's still coming on. So again, the number that you can text a question if you have questions for Andrew or for me or for the number is 334-249-2290, or you can tweet us at WePlayBaseball. Again, that number is 334-249-2290, or you can tweet us at WePlayBaseball. So, Andrew, I'll get into an additional question here. Let's talk about intangibles. Talk about some of the intangibles that are looked at that level. I mean, I remember one day when I had my travel ball teams, I had Joe Mason come in, and Joe Mason brought in a chart, and I'll never forget it. I ought to ask Joe if he still has it, but he had a chart. He was scout for the Diamondbacks for a long time, and this chart had, it had all the 5 tools. And then it was surrounded by intangibles and kind of like a hierarchy, not necessarily a hierarchy, but like some of the things that are most important. And then some of the things that were, hey, even though this may not be as important, it is still on the list. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that from your standpoint.
We'll use it like this. Intangibles would be something that's not that's not a 5 tool, right? Okay. Uh-huh. So it could be anything from base running. I think that you can probably consider that an intangible, right? The ability to run the bases. You don't have to be fast to be a good base runner, you know. So the speed is one of the 5 tools. Being a good base runner, instincts in the game, being able to be in the right place at the right time. I mean, most evaluators can see a guy when he has instincts, reading balls in the dirt, being in the right place for cutoffs, backing up throws, just making instinctual plays. One of the most instinctual plays of all time is Derek Jeter, play where he was kind of in the wrong spot, but he just had that feeling to, get to against Oakland when he had to cut off and he shoveled the ball and got a Giambi. But instincts is a huge one.
Jeter play.
Yeah, the Jeter play.
Right.
Yep. So instincts is probably one of the biggest intangibles in the game. Also, the other intangibles, how are you a good teammate? Leadership, makeup, all those things come into play when you're evaluating the player to get to the next level, whether that's D1, D2, D3, any type of college baseball, or into pro baseball. So,
right. One person on here, Patrick Sims, says, tell you to hello, and it's good to see you on here talking.
What's up?
So here we go. Next question I got here. So when you show up at a game, and I know you just talked about these intangibles and things and character and attitude and hustle and all these things that are included in that list. When you get to the game, what's the first thing? First off, when do you get to the game? All right. Kids you want to see. When do you try to get there? 1. When you get there, what do you look at? 2. 3. How long do you typically stay, and what makes you determine if you're going to stay or leave? And these are questions that I did receive earlier.
This is what I'll do. I just kind of go, like a day in the ballpark kind of deal.
All right.
So, depending on, let's say I'm going to go see a hitter. right? A high school hitter. Let's say we're going to see a high school hitter. Want to know some information. Obviously, if I'm going there, he's considered a good player, a good prospect. So one of the first things you want to do is, if the guy's taking batting practice, get there before batting practice. Definitely get there. I usually try to get there at least 30 minutes before batting practice. Just to see what's going on. A lot of evaluators. Just so kids and parents know. We're showing up early just to see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing your kid come from class, walk into the field. That's some little things. We want to see what kind of kid is he. Is he in the cage hitting early before the team gets there, before anything gets started? Is he goofing around on his way to the field? Which nothing bad about that, but just what kind of goofing around? Well, how's he talking to his teammates? How is he interacting with his teammates? How is he interacting with his coaches? If I get there early and I see a couple parents or maybe a teacher or a principal, you show up early, I'm gonna ask about the kid. Hey, such and such. Oh yeah, okay. And we have a conversation about the kid. I might ask about the kid just to see what kind of information I can get out of the principal or teacher or even an assistant coach. A lot of times, you want to get information from those guys, or even the teammate. Talk to a teammate. So you show up, talk to a teammate, and see, just to get information on the kid, see what kind of kid he is. After that, you kind of go through looking at batting practice, looking to see what he's doing in batting practice. I won't get into the ins and out of mechanics and all that, but just we'll probably talk about that later. But just seeing how he goes about his business during batting practice. What's he doing when he's out in the field? Some of the little things, is he shagging balls or taking fungos or whatnot? Is he helping pick up balls in between, when the coach called for the baseball pickup? Or is he a cool guy just standing to the side letting his teammates pick the balls up?
Right.
All that stuff comes into play. After batting practice, is he helping his teammates clean up? Or is he just kind of being a cool guy on the side because he's the big-time prospect, thinking that he don't have to do that type of stuff?
Right.
During the game, looking at his attitude, a lot of times parents think that we show up to see these kids and they have to go 4 for 4 with 3 home runs for us to like them,
Right.
We already like them. That's why we're at the game.
Right. Right.
We already like them. That's why you're at the game. A good scout is not going to take it out on a kid for going 0 for 4 that day. This is baseball. You're going to have a lot of 0 for 4 days. But a lot of times what we want to see is how the kid handles. I want to see a kid do bad. I want to see how he's going to handle it.
Right.
If he's doing bad, is he going to congratulate his teammates after he just struck out, but his teammate just hit a home run? Is he going to be one of the guys that gets up and high-five one of his teammates? Or is he going to be in the back of the dugout soaking still, with his head down, being the eye guy?
Right.
Is he engaged during the game? Is he out on the field talking? Or is he a guy that's out on the field? One of the things I hate to see is when a kid he's on defense, but he's practicing a swing,
Yeah.
Can he disengage when he's on offense and defense,
Right.
After the game, is he helping to clean up the dugout when the coach, told the whole team to clean up? Or is he packing up his stuff and just leaving his teammates to handle it? What's some other things? How is he with the fans? If a kid comes up to him, because a lot of these high school kids, they get famous quick.
Right.
They're famous in high school. Some of the better players. So how is he treating the kids or any type of fans that are coming up to him? Maybe asking them for his autograph or just having a conversation with them. And then after the game, most important thing, how is he treating his parents?
Right. Right.
how does he interact with his parents, and then interact with his coaches. So, I mean, that's kind of like the day and, kind of the full day of the intent when I'm showing up to the field, kind of stuff that I'm looking for outside of the normal baseball stuff.
Right. Gotcha. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we have Andrew Toussaint. He is the West Coast supervisor for the Mets. He is on discussing the scouting world. Or I'll let you guys chime in here. I have some additional questions, but if you guys have questions, feel free to start asking, and we can go from there. But I'm gonna give the number. I'll give the number one more time. Again, to text, the number is 334-249-2290. We will take questions from the audience, from you guys listening out there. If you have those, just text them to 334-249-2290 or tweet at WePlayBaseball. Or I think you were going.
Yeah. I just, Andrew, I just like a question that may come up from the people that are watching. How do you handle a parent or family member addressing maybe their son is a kind of a one-tool guy, a dominant one-tool guy, and they want to know, well, what kind of a chance does he have to be a professional baseball player? I mean, what kind of response? I know what you're probably going to say, but I think it's probably good for the people to hear. What you would recommend to a parent that has a son that's really maybe good, that maybe he's a one-tool guy, but he can really run well, but his other tools are below. How do you handle that?
I mean, like you said, it also depends on what that one tool is, and usually if it's an impact one tool, I'm talking about like you putting a 70 or 80 grade on it, that carries a lot of weight.
Right. If
it's one tool and it's just average one tool, then that's a little different. But we talking about an 80 runner where it's impact, speed, out of the box, on the bases. Those things go a long way. That keeps the kid on the field. A lot of people are going to look for one-tool players. I mean, it's not the 5-tool player is rare in the game anymore. So even a 4-tool player or a 3-tool player, these things are rare. A lot of times you get in a 1-tool player that just have, the other makeup and intangibles to lift up the other tools to where they're presentable. Like obviously the main one tool is the hit tool. So if your one tool is impacting this tool, it's going to take you a long way. A lot of people are going to find a place where to put you. But again, if that one tool is, like you said, speed, if you're an 80 runner, it's going to go a long way. You can impact the team in a lot of ways. You just have to know how to use your one tool and take care of your meal ticket. If your meal ticket is speed, one, you need to make sure that you're healthy every day to show your speed every day.
That's kind of the thing that I always tell the guys, the players, is that one tool, if it's speed, speed for me doesn't ever go in a slump. You're always going to have it.
Right.
You just have to get better at how you use it. And then the other tool for me, and I know it's not one of the 5 tools, but I'm a really big makeup guy in that obviously, the intangibles, the work ethic, the athleticism, knowing how to play the game, coachable, even the academic part. To me, those are really big things that I like to look at when I'm looking at a player.
Right, and you know what? Makeup is the 6th tool, and it might be the most important tool.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what? It might be the most important tool out of them all, because we've seen everybody play with guys who had impact tools, and you're like, man, this is a can't miss prospect that ended up being missable, and never made it. We all play with those guys, Some of us might have been that guy, So But the makeup is, man, it takes a guy a long ways. I think, just like I said, that might be the number one tool, the makeup. Just a guy's ability, he wants it more than the next guy.
Right.
When you talk to your area scouts or scouts that you have under you, I kind of like the idea, if I can and I have the time and I get there early enough, I kind of like to talk to the head coach or one of the coaches, if I can, about the athlete. And I know that's sometimes you have head coaches that are not real sociable in that regard, but then you have guys that like to talk about a player. So what do you have to say about that? How do you do that? I know you covered a lot of stuff. You may have forgot to talk about that. But
well, our area scouts, to me, the area scout is the most important scout on the whole staff. He sees the player first. He sees them the most. He knows them the best. He's gonna be able to tell us everything. When I come in to see, I don't know everything. I might see a player one time, and I'm just kind of going off of like a broad strokes of hearing what my area guys said to me about him, or reading a report, me coming in and seeing it, and trying to put that all together and just comparing it with the rest of the players on the West Coast. But the area scout, he sees them the most time, so he's going to tell me when I'm not there, how's he doing, how's he performing. The questions I have that I need answered, he can answer those questions for me. He's going to go and get all the information needed, the makeup stuff. A really good area scout is going to be the master of the information. He's going to know everything about his players. He's going to talk to coaches. He's going to talk to parents. He's going to talk to meet with the kid.
That was the next.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you want this, we always talk about if you want the player bad enough, you better know him like he's your own child almost. Try to know as much as you can about the player.
You have to do your homework. I mean, it's important, like you say, especially if you're going to be a high pick, you want to know as much as you can about the kid. You don't want to have any surprises.
So that leads into this question, because my next question was talk about that private investigator that you have to be at that area level. That's kind of where I was. That was the next question. Orv beat me to it.
Yeah, I mean, just like I'm saying, like I was kind of giving you my day earlier when I was saying like the day, the full day of getting there, seeing the intangible stuff. That's the area scout. Obviously, as a cross checker, I'm doing some of that stuff too, because we want to get the player, as good as right as we can, and we just want to know all the information. I might hear something, or I might have a relationship with someone that he might not know as well, or whatever. So we're trying to collaborate to get this player right, but the area scout, like I said, he might be, if he knows this area really well, he might have known this kid since this kid was a ninth grader, because it might be a kid that he scouted, years ago, a couple years ago on this team, and he saw this kid as a ninth grader, or if it's a really good program, he's probably seen him as a ninth grader, or 10th grader, 11th grader, 12th grader. He's probably seen him for 4 years, and then so. You're talking to coaches. You're showing up. You might know about this kid, from a long time ago. You might have information because you get to the ball game. You have a good relationship with the coaches, and you ask the coach, "Hey, who's your next guys coming up?" And the coach, "Oh yeah, my shortstop. He's a sophomore, and he's really okay. Tell me about him a little bit." And then you jotting down some information. You can put that away for a rainy, when it comes up 2 years later. And, but yeah, you get into the game, like you said, you almost like a private investigator. You're showing up, you might see people in the parking lot, and hey, some kids that just go to the school. Hey, Johnny. Oh yeah, I know him. Oh really? Okay. You friends with him? No, I'm not friends with him, but I see him around. Oh, okay, really? What kind of player? What kind of kid is he? He go to school. He go to class. Is he one of the more popular kids? You do your investigating. One of the best things is the parents, the parents that's not his parents.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's where you get a lot of information from too.
Right.
The parents that's not his parents, because either they're going to usually tell you the truth, because either they resent that their kid is not that kid, you know, or they might be naive, you know, to let you know that information that a coach might hide from you, right. The kids will hide from you, and maybe their parent will hide from you some information that one of the other parents won't hide from you. You know?
Right.
So you're talking to all those different people, teammates, summer coaches. A lot of times the summer coaches are, you know, great coaches because they don't have no skin in the game. You know, there's no skin in the game for them. They just want to give out the information. So summer coaches are a perfect asset of getting information on the player.
How big is the Carl? Go ahead. I can always come back. Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, I just had a question about the makeup. What kind of leeway do you give a kid? And what I mean by that is, especially with kids that we've dealt with that come from, you know, inner city kids, those type of kids. Right. What kind of leeway would you give them if they have, you know, suppose they've been labeled as bad makeup, and then you get to know them a little bit, and you find out maybe they got a bad situation at home, and that's why they act the way they act.
Right.
Go ahead. I was going to say, does that come into play, and how do you guys deal with that kind of situation?
I don't want to speak for my organization per se, or, you know, particular people, but just for me, I want to understand the kid more, because I hear a lot of stuff that people say, "Oh, this is bad makeup," and I'm like, "That's not bad makeup. That's just a kid being a kid," you know.
Right.
But, so, you know, a lot of times, like just being in the industry, you know, kids get labeled as bad makeup, and a lot of times I'm like, "Oh, okay. I hope they don't draft that guy because they think that's bad makeup," you know. With me, I want to do my homework on, you know, a lot of times, like, it might be like a thing like smoking weed or something like that.
Right.
You know, the kid get labeled as bad makeup because he smokes some weed or something like that. I want to do my homework on, is this a problem for the kid? You know, is this something like the kid just snuck away and was hanging with his friends and they smoked a little pot? Or does the kid have an addiction to it or something, you know, that can derail him from being his best player, the best player he can be? So for me, it's just investigating those type of things. Dude, I've seen so many bad labels of makeup. I mean, I've seen stuff where some kids get labeled bad makeup just because they dress a little different than, you know, what a scout or what a coach might think that how they should dress. And I'm like, just because he has on a pair of Jordans or something, or his clothes a little bit baggier or something, you know, just it's stupid stuff, you know. Reason why kids get labeled as bad makeup, but you know, it's all about, for me, just doing your homework and figuring out, you know, a lot of times it's doing homework on the parents,
right?
You know, so seeing what kind of environment this kid is living in and what kind of environment you're taking them out and putting them in. You know, it's tough, you know, just to go in and label a kid. I don't like to label kids bad makeup unless it's really bad. You know, like we hear some stuff that's really bad, and we're like, whoa, you want to stay away from the kid. But most of the time, it's just choices. I'm more worried about the makeup if the kid really wants to be a big leaguer, than like him doing something bad. You know what I'm saying? More of a character flaw or whatever. Because we all know it's some bad character dudes that are playing in the big leagues. And for me, character is something that's off the field type stuff. The guy who goes and hangs out and parties all the time. Those dudes play in the big leagues. You know what I'm saying? If he got tools or whatnot. And the guy that treats women bad or whatever. Right. Not domestically, but, you know, the guys that are out there just partying or whatever.
Right.
Those guys play in the big league. But it's the guy who, the on-field stuff that's going to keep him away from being a big leaguer. Those are the guys that scare me. Those are the bad makeup guys that scare me. The lazy guy who doesn't want to work. The guy who has to be told by his coaches to go work out or go, you know, do stuff like that. Or, you know, the kid that's not seeking information to get better. Those are the kids I'm worried about, you know. especially nowadays when so much information is out there for kids to get better, and a kid is not really seeking the information, that's a red flag for me.
Yeah. One of the questions I just got is, again, matter of fact, I got two questions here. Do you do your investigation when you're out? This is kind of, do you wear your Mets paraphernalia, or do you come in and look just like everybody else? Or do you tell your guys?
Most of the time, somebody will be able to tell if I'm a scout. I'm not billboarding Mets all the time.
Yeah.
You know? So a lot of times I might look like a fan or something like that. But usually parents can tell. I'm gonna have a stopwatch in my hand. I'm gonna have taking notes and stuff like that. So you should, most of the time when we go to games, parents, coaches, kids can tell who the scouts are. And then if they've been around, they've seen us. Yeah, that exactly. Your radar gun, right? So a lot of times, if you see a grown man show up to your game with a backpack,
right?
He's probably a scout or a recruiter. So.
Right.
Can I chime in on that topic?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, yeah, and Drew still looks young enough that he could be one of the players.
Yeah.
But Rod, you would know this because I was associate scout for a while.
Yeah.
And sometimes I could be on the field coaching, and I see a kid, and I'll call the scout and say, "Hey, I just saw a kid today. You might want to go, find out more about his name and the team he plays on."
Right.
And so players and parents have to be aware of that kind of thing because you don't know who knows who or who's watching. The other thing is the guy that I was associate scout for, what he used to do, and he would call me all the time, he would show up at a practice and just sit in the car out in the parking lot and watch a kid. And I know a lot of scouts do that. Andrew knows Doug, a guy named Doug Takaragawa, who's been scouting forever. Now he's retired from scouting, but if you're ever around him at a baseball game, he's always got his hand in his pocket. And when he's got his hand in his pocket, he's got his hand on the stopwatch. He'll scout. And when he sees a guy, he'll call somebody. I've seen him make a call, get a guy a scholarship the next day, or a guy ends up who wasn't on the map, and next thing you know, he's a third-round draft pick just because Doug made a call to somebody because he saw a kid he liked.
Right.
So it isn't just the scout that you got to look out for. It's the people that know the scout.
That know the scout. That's right.
Like I said, they see somebody that can play, they're going to call it. Hey, I don't know if you know this guy, but you need to come watch him play. He's pretty decent.
I have a.
That's a point that Paul brings up. I didn't mention it earlier. It's like it's a lot of people, like he said, connected to scouts or connected to the game in certain ways that a lot of your travel ball coaches or associate scouts for teams. So it's a lot of coaches that coach travel ball, coach USA baseball, coach, all kind of different teams across the country. And these guys are affiliated with actual affiliated teams, with actual big league teams, major league organizations. And they're giving information to scouts. A lot of times these guys are the first line, to players. Mm-hmm. Because, as a scout, I'm focused on the 2020 players right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if you somebody might ask me about a 2021, if he's not famous, I don't know about him.
Right.
I'm too busy going over all these 2020 players for the draft whenever it happens, you know?
Right.
So unless a 2021 player is famous, I probably don't know him. A 2022, unless he's famous, I definitely don't know.
Right.
2023, but the associate scouts, the travel ball coaches, they know these kids. Carl probably has a list of kids that are 2023s. Already he know them. I don't know.
Right.
So, Carl will text me about a kid, Oh, do you know? Have you heard of this kid? I'm like, no, I don't know him. Bro. Who is he? And I'm telling you, this is gonna be. And then next thing you know, I hear about the kid. He's big time, player across the country, and that's the first step, to it.
Right.
Yeah. So the parents need to understand, and the kids, that when you're out playing, whenever you're in uniform, whether it's practice, playing, or whatever, you need to perform like there is an actual scout watching you.
That's right.
Because technically there is, and in some kind of way.
Right.
And that's how you always have to be when you step out on that field, because somebody's watching you.
Right.
And it literally could just be somebody just walking by the field. I can't tell you how many fields that I've walked or driven by, and I stopped to see what the kids are doing.
All right, I got 2 questions here.
One more thing about the practice thing. Like a lot of scouts, I mean, if I don't have a game to go to that day, but I'm looking for something to do, I might be stuck somewhere, and I might need to get to the East Coast, but I'm stuck somewhere in the Midwest or something, and I don't have a game that day, but I don't have a flight until later that day or the next morning to get to where I'm going. I might just say, you know what, I'm going to show up to this kid's practice then. And I'll roll up there and just act like I'm just anybody and might, like Carl said, stay in the outfield, just look from afar just to see what's going on. Just to see what this kid is doing on a day when he thinks he's not being scouted. And those are a lot of times, those are the days that get a kid in trouble or get a kid or actually boost the kid up. Right. Because what the scouts saw that one day at the practice and stuff like that. That's a lot of times our guys come in and say, man, you know what? I went to a practice one day and this kid was being lazy. He was sitting on the bucket the whole time. He wasn't doing anything. He didn't know I was there. So,
and I got a quick story on the very same thing. So, one day I was at the academy in the office. Where'd our host go?
I'm still here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I get a call from the scout, and he asked me about this kid who I knew, but not a lot of the scouts knew him. And he was basically a 5'2" player, should have been a top 5 pick in the first round of the draft. And he calls me, and he said, "What's wrong with so and so?" And I said, "Nothing. Why? What's wrong?" He says, "Well, I'm sitting here at his practice in the parking lot, and everybody's out there in their practice uniform. He's out there in shorts, tank top, and his hat on backwards." And I was like, I don't know what to tell you, because he obviously thought nobody was watching.
Yeah, he thought he was Ken Griffey that day.
Well, yeah, but it's like Drew said, was he being a team player or just and the funny thing is, he was one of the nicest kids I ever met.
Right.
But the problem wasn't actually him. The problem was his dad.
Yeah.
His dad literally would not let any scout talk to him ever. So nobody really knew what kind of kid he was. So they just assumed the worst of it.
Right.
And so when he saw him at this practice, he called me, and I tried best I could to speak up for him, but I had no answers for that one.
Right.
But that's just a perfect example of you don't know who's watching you.
Right. That's true.
And the kid ended up, instead of going in the first round, he ended up getting drafted in the 11th round.
In the 11th round. Wow.
There's a couple other incidents that happened too that were misunderstandings.
And for the record, that's a big difference.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah. Let me just make sure everybody understands that's a gigantic difference. All right, but here we go. I got 2 questions. We got people that they are asking questions, so this is good. One of them says, this is Lorenzo Spencer. He says, do college coaches, and I guess I probably, me or Carl, I guess this would be for us, do college coaches recruit only at big showcases, PBR, Perfect Game, Baseball Factory, etc.? Showcases can be expensive, and there may be some cost issues for parents. Lorenzo, go back to last night's podcast. That's what I'm going to say tonight. We've created a solution for that because we understand that. So my suggestion is, and because we're not going to have time to talk about it tonight, but I can tell you this: tune in tomorrow night, and we'll spend the whole time talking about it, and let everybody talk from their end of what that project is going to do. And it's called the National Scouting Bureau Pipeline. It's a membership platform that we've built just because of what you just said. So that answers that question. Check out last night's podcast, or tune in tomorrow. And you can go to our YouTube channel, which is the National Scouting Bureau, on YouTube, and you'll be able to pull up that podcast again. But listen to that one from last night. I know that we did the whole Jackie Robinson tribute at the beginning, but then go to near the probably, I guess, 30 minutes into it, looking at that, and then you can get some answers and you can actually see it there. But I will talk about it again on tomorrow night, just to give you a heads up. The other question came through on the text line, and I will pull it up here. I have something going on my screen, so I'm trying to do two things again here. Activities, let me go to, all right. When Andrew is scouting, do they look at guys based on height, weight for certain positions, or they have to pass the eye test? Let's talk about that. Good question. That came from 817-501-6901. Great question, guy. Or gal, I don't know right now.
The eye test is a good question. The eye test is good for one thing: when you're getting off the bus and walking up to the field. So now, obviously, if a kid, I see the 6'3", 205-pound kid, good body kid, obviously he's going to catch my eyes when I'm like, whoa, okay, who's this kid? I mean, I could be seeing another kid showing up to go see a prospect, and I see a kid like that, like, wow, okay, I'm going to ask questions about him. That's as far as it goes. The eye test part is, he's going to get questions asked about that kid. Of course, he's passed the eye test. It's just like any other sport. If a kid plays football and the kid is, Nick Saban goes out to a game and he sees this 6'5", 250-pound kid that's Jack walking onto his football field, he don't know him, he's going to ask about him. Right. Or a basketball recruiter, it's a 6'7" kid, long and lean, and he's got a little bounce to him. Yeah, the college coach is going to ask about him. Right. But that's where it stops. Now, once the game starts, then we talk about his skills,
right?
And how he used those skills. There's been you guys watch baseball. Altuve, amongst other players who are smaller guys, they're really impacting the game.
Right.
It's all about your skill set and how you use your skills, and can you contribute to the baseball team winning games? That's what it comes down to. Go ahead, Carl.
No, I was going to say you just got to have common sense with it too. You're probably not going to have a 5'9" guy playing first base.
Right.
Doesn't mean he can't play or be an impact player. He just won't be playing that position.
Correct.
And that's what we talked about a couple of days ago. We were talking about the position thing. When me and Carl was at the youth academy, we dealt with a lot of parents that would show up, and everybody wanted their kid to be a shortstop, or everybody wanted their kid to play center field, or everybody wanted their kid to do, whatever position it was. The parents thought they knew what position their kid should be playing, and we're telling them, no, I think your kid has a better shot to play this position. So obviously, like Carl said, a 5'9" kid at first base is not going to be a good fit.
Right.
He's going to need to find, work on his way to move to second, move to the outfield, wherever he can move to. It's just we don't see those type of players at first base.
Right.
And for obvious reasons. But but like I said, the eye test is only good for before the game starts.
Good. Here's one additional question: athleticism. how, being a two-sport athlete, how big does athleticism play from your side, from your view of things? When you see a two-sport athlete, what goes through your mind, and how does that affect, on the scouting side of it?
That's probably the seventh tool. Athleticism is a huge important thing in all sports. So, baseball is no different. I'm looking at, when I show up to the field, I'm looking for guys who are athletic. The ability, it's only going to enhance you to be more athletic, because now the way the game is changing, versatility is huge. Defensive versatility. Look at the Dodgers. Cody Bellinger can play first base and he can play center field. He's one of the best center fielders in the game.
Right.
He's one of the best first basemen too. You don't see that.
Right.
Max Muncy plays first and second. I mean, how many guys you seen play first base and second base?
Right.
I mean, you rarely see that. And multiple other guys they have on their team. Chris Taylor plays shortstop and center field. Kike Hernandez, the same thing, shortstop and center field. Those guys are athletic.
Right.
Those guys are athletes. And the more athletic you are, the more versatility gives you on the field. The more positions you can play on the field, the better chance of you being in the lineup.
Right.
When someone's putting together, if I'm a general manager, I'm putting together the big league roster, the guy who can play multiple positions has a better shot of making my team than the guy who only can play one position. Most of the time you're going to pick, if you're going apples to apples, these players are very similar offensive profiles. You're going to pick the guy that has more defensive versatility, because you can do different things with him late in the game. He can play different positions and, whatever, especially in the National League. But then on the going to the two-sport question, I feel like, especially for young kids, playing multiple sports is huge. Not just on the baseball end, just kids should be playing multiple sports, period. We shouldn't be specializing in, I know this is a baseball podcast, but we shouldn't be specializing in any one sport early in, before they get to really, I would say before they get to high school, just because you just never know what your kid can be good at,
Instead of wanting him to be good.
Right, you want him to be good at baseball, and the kid could be actually a pretty good basketball player, or something else, or be a pretty good football player. But then it also gives you different movements and different skill set. Carl has seen a ton. Carl's seen a ton of players that we saw that were football players. Played football all the way up for a long time, and then they transferred. Moved over to baseball. Guys who played basketball. Amir Garrett played basketball. Now he's a big league reliever. Ton of other guys. It just gives you, other than giving you more options and versatility, also you learn to be more athletic. Learn to move better.
And also from a coach or instructor standpoint, athletes pick up things a lot faster than athletes when you're giving them information. And I'll give you the prime example, Kenny Lofton. Okay, Kenny Lofton, I think, played maybe 1 or 2 years in high school. Mm-hmm. Went to Arizona on a basketball scholarship. Hadn't played since high school. Astros drafted him, and I was there when they drafted him. The first day he came out after he got signed, I threw him batting practice, and he couldn't get the ball off the dirt around home plate. The first day. Mm-hmm. A week later, he was hitting missiles all over the field. Not even a week, a couple of days later. Right. Just hitting missiles all over the field just because he was a great athlete. And later that summer, he gets called up to the big leagues. And that's just all from being an athlete. And again, I saw Bo Jackson the first day he stepped out on the baseball field. Right. And he was taking BP, and he literally, no exaggeration, swung and missed at the first 10 pitches. And then 10 minutes later, he's launching balls out of the park, from foul pole to foul pole. And again, that's just from being an athlete. So from a coach's standpoint, athletes are great to work with. They're easy to work with because you show them or you tell them one thing one time, and they get it, and they do it. So that's why coaches want athletes, because it just makes their job easier.
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of stuff, you don't have to tell them to do because they're such a good athlete. They just know to do it naturally.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
As coaches, what do you guys think about how good or do we even talk about projectability? And I know I've made mistakes on projectability, but I also made some good decisions too. In the scouting process, Andrew, is that something obviously that's a tough thing to do? But do you guys look at that at all?
Oh, of course. And athleticism is a huge projection point.
Right.
More athletic a guy is, I feel more comfortable projecting on his skill set. I feel more comfortable projecting on an athlete to gain power, to get better with his hand-eye coordination, to get his swing overall to get better. If we're talking about a position player,
right.
He's athletic. I would hope that he gets better as a defender. Just by sheer, if he's an infielder, just hitting him more buckets and buckets of ground balls. I would hope that he's going to get better. A ton of fly balls, he should get better. I'm going to project on that athleticism for a pitcher, especially like you got a guy who hasn't pitched a lot for his career and he's a good athlete. I'm going to project on him that he, once he gets some pro instruction, once he gets more physicality to him, that he's going to throw harder, especially if he has good mechanics already, or at least good athletic movements that can eventually turn into good mechanics once he gets with good instruction. I'm going to project on him that he's going to throw harder. I'm going to project on him that he should have some feel to get the ball in the strike zone and command the baseball. And I'll project on him his breaking ball, especially if the arm action and the delivery is good.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of scouts like to meet the parents. Because they want to see how big the kid's going to grow. If you got a kid that's probably 5'11", but his dad's 6'4", and the mom's 5'10", you're like, oh. And he's late bloomer because like Juan Gonzalez was in first year in the big leagues, he was 6'1". When he came back for his second year, he was 6'4".
Right.
He grew 3 inches after 19 years old.
Right. And that's the same.
There's a lot of kids like that.
And that's the same thing Steve said about himself, Springer. When we had Steve on last week, he came in at, what was it, 5'8", 5'11". Then he had 3-4 inches grew when he turned 19.
Yep.
And it made a huge difference for him. So, but yeah.
So the good scouts are able to do that though.
Yeah.
Like I said, they look at those kids, look at the parents, look at his older brothers and sisters, and factor in all those things when they're looking at a kid.
Right.
Tools and intangibles are a big part for me. Tools and athleticism, are a big part of that. But the intangibles are a big part of whether or not work ethic and athleticism and all that.
Right.
How if he knows how to play the game, is he a coachable guy? Those things too, for me, are they're all a part of that. It's how bad does he want to play? How hungry is he? Does he come to the ballpark every day wanting to get better?
Yeah. And then a lot of times, especially for me, I'll look at a guy and just say, how much has he played baseball?
Right.
Especially looking for like a kid that's like, we talk about two-sport athletes, how much of that has he been baseball? Because if it's a kid who plays baseball 12 months out the year and he's still the same player, every time I go see him, I'm going to have a little pessimism that he's going to get more projection to him. Right. Now, we got a guy that, never plays summer baseball because he's focused on football throughout the summer. And then in the fall, he's playing football. And then he only walks out on the baseball field for January, and he only plays from January to May or June. I'm going to project on that guy because he don't play baseball year-round. A good athlete like that, he doesn't play every day. And everybody knows who played the game of baseball know you have to hit every day. You have to field every day. If you're not facing 90 consistently, or at least the visual of 90 in the cage or something like that every day, it's hard to get that timing back when you step on the field.
Right.
So we're looking at those type of guys and say, you know what? Once this guy puts down that football or puts the basketball down, he's focuses strictly on baseball. He's going to get better.
He's going to be,
Yeah, and Amir Garrett is the guy you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
He played for me the summer for his senior year. I took him to the Tournament of Stars.
Right.
He was probably topping out at 88. Had a hard time throwing strikes. Had a good break of his breaking ball, but couldn't get it anywhere near the plate. And after he got done pitching, he's sitting down next to me. And I said to him, you don't look too bad. You might want to spend a little more time playing baseball. And he says to me, I'm just doing this till basketball starts back up. That's what he told me. And the following year, he ends up getting $1 million to sign out of high school. And the Reds let him go to St. John's.
Right.
To play basketball.
Right.
Played 2 years because he would go play in the summer, go back to school. After his sophomore year, he quit St. John's. Spent full time on baseball. The first full year in A-ball, he was pitcher of the year in the Florida State League when he went full time to baseball.
Right.
And that was just because of him being such a great athlete.
Right.
6'5", left-handed pitcher. Could dunk all over the place. So he's an
athleticism was at the wall. Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as he devoted his time to baseball, he shot up.
Right.
A year and a half later, he was in the big leagues.
Right. We just received another question, and we're gonna kind of shut it down after this one. My wife has me running some errands this evening that I didn't know about. But here's the question: how do you guys feel about left-handed batters? Since Carl brought up, Tamir, what approach should they have? Power or hitting or for average?
Everybody should be trying to hit for average or for yards.
Right.
I agree.
I mean, like as a scout, this is how we look. As a scout, just for parents to know, I want to know if you're kicking hit first.
Right.
Because the power will come as the kid gets older, he gets bigger, he gets stronger. When I go out to see a kid, I want to know, can he hit? Like, I signed Dominic Smith out of high school, and he knew Dominic way before me.
Somebody mentioned that when I posted about you being the speaker tonight. Somebody said, "Hey, he signed Dominic Smith." So yeah.
And Carl knew Dominic a couple years before me.
Yeah.
And one thing about Dominic, ever since he was 11, 12 years old, he could always hit. And that was on some of my notes earlier about hitting, is just having a natural feel to hit. And people want to know what's a natural, you hear that. Does he got feel to hit, natural feel to hit? For me, that's like a kid who's rarely overmatched. And that was Dominic Smith. He always played up above his age group, and he was never overmatched, right?
Right.
A kid who's consistent, has consistent barrel contact. Those kind of kids, eventually when they get stronger,
mm-hmm.
those balls are going to start leaving the yard, Low strikeouts, a kid who just always just put the ball in play, even if it's a week out or something like that. He rarely strikes out. He finds a way to fight and put the ball in play. And then the other one is the ability to control the zone and don't chase pitches out of the zone, for me. Those are the things that tell me this guy has feel to hit and he has ability to be a naturally good hitter. Those guys, we can say, like we're talking about 18, 19, 20 years, even 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds. A lot of these kids don't, like, if you guys go back and try to do some research on, like, a lot of these guys who are hitting for power right now in the big leagues, go back and look at only a few of them hit for power their whole life.
Right.
A lot of these guys just were really good hitters, and eventually they grew into power. Even look at Christian Yelich. Go look at him in the big leagues. Christian Yelich just started hitting 30, 40 home runs the last 2 or 3 years.
Right.
He wasn't doing that his whole career. His first couple years, he was hitting 9 and 10 home runs.
So he started getting his real grown man strength then.
Right, and then also learning, how to hit for power.
Right.
Guys who hit for power hit the ball in the air a lot, and they hit the ball to the pull side. So
that doesn't mean pop-ups.
Right.
Right. They hit the ball hard in the air, and they hit the ball to the pull side. A lot of times, those are the things that come later. Usually, really good hitters can hit the ball through the middle. They always barrel the ball up through the middle. Good opposite field hitters.
Now,
once they start learning how to pull the ball the right way, they're going to hit for power, home run power. Once they learn how to get the ball in the air the right way, they'll hit for home run power. And that's not, dumping your barrel early and losing the barrel and getting the ball in the air. That's not going to work for power. That's going to be a lot of strikeouts.
Right.
But
so let me cut us off right here. I want remember where we are, because I want to come back to this tomorrow. Actually, start the show out. I want to get into the more specifics, just like we just now doing about when we're talking about hitting. What exactly are we talking about? I mean, I wrote some notes down. You talking about you mentioned a consistent barrel and things that you're looking at. So I want to get heavily. Since all of us, everybody here does hitting, so let's tomorrow, let's look at hitting, and then one of the things I want you to talk about tomorrow is that ground ball ratio, which you were just now really getting ready to start really get into. I want to let's take that, because if we keep going, literally we're gonna be at 2 hours again. So let's cut it right here, and all of us on tomorrow, let's pick up right here on this hitting where we are in hitting, and then we'll get into this ground ball ratios and all these things, and and one of the other things I want to talk about on tomorrow is how big are the metrics playing into the game now. We're going to sabermetrics and things, and I really want to begin to get into that, because I don't think what people know is a lot of us on this end, and when we're rolling out what we're talking about rolling out, a lot of us know these things already. And a lot of this stuff is being built into what players will be getting as a part of the scouting bureau. So, great show, guys. I hate to cut it short, but I know we get long-winded on certain things, and this is one of them things we about to get long-winded about. And I want to take time, and I want people to understand that we really want to hit these things hard, because at the end of the day, we're trying to make sure that we give you as much accurate information as we possibly can. So at the end of the day, your son can be you if you're listening as a player, can be a better ball player. I know there's some JUCO guys on here. I know there's some D1 guys listening on the podcast. So I know guys are listening. So tomorrow, 6 o'clock, guys, join us again on the We Play Baseball Podcast. Andrew Toussaint, awesome job. Carl Nichols, thanks for joining in. I know you had to take care of some stuff early, but I'm glad you actually came in. Or, as normal, I'm glad everything is well with you. Glad to have you back in. You've been consistently back in here. We love it. Again, keep Derek May in your prayers. He has some issues that he's dealing with family-wise, so keep him in your prayers. Marvin is out. I know he's doing his thing with some stuff that he had going. So hopefully we get all these guys back on the show. We can have an even bigger panel. And we have other guys that we're going to bring in. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us again tonight. We really do appreciate it. Again, great job, guys. I'm going to play some music on the way out. All right, y'all have a good one, man. Appreciate you. Great job.
Good job.
Join us on tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on the We Play Baseball